Okay, so 2 is comparing and ordering rational numbers. A rational number, which we've already talked about rational with the word ratio in it, is any number that can be written as a ratio or fraction. These include common fractions, terminating and repeating decimals, percents, and integers. So a rational number is any number that can be written as a ratio or fraction. Common fractions like 1/2, 1/3. Terminating or repeating like 1/9. Decimals, percents, integers. All of these are called rational numbers. Okay, so any questions on what rational numbers are? Good. Okay, another term that we need to review, and some of you know this, the least common denominator. Okay? The least common denominator, they also abbreviate that LCD. Okay, least common multiple, some of you have heard that. You use this to compare fractions. Okay, so you guys remember getting a common denominator. It's the same thing. We're going to use that again. Just to review what that is. So if it says use the LCD, that means you're finding the lowest common denominator. I'm going to give you an example of using the common denominator to compare fractions. Okay, so this is what your homework will look like tonight. We have to compare them greater than, less than, or equal to. We have -1 and 5/6 and -1 and 1/6. They already have the same denominator, so I don't need to change it. But we know that the -1 and 5/6 is less than. You can use a number line to help you figure out where the 1/6 and the 5/6 are as well. But remember, when we're dealing with negatives, we're kind of thinking backwards, right? So the bigger number here on the 5 is less than the 1 if we're talking negatives. Again, so for negatives, you have to think kind of opposite. Like the bigger number there, 5, will be less than the 1. If you look at a number line, you can kind of see there. The -5/6 is closer to the -2, so that makes it less. Questions? These ones are pretty simple because they have a common denominator. But do you think all the problems are going to have a common denominator? No. Okay. So on the next page, I'm going to show you how to tackle those. Here we go. Here's one where we do not have the same denominator. So first we have to find it. So it's example 2, 7/12. I know it's greater than 8/18 because I did the work, but I'm going to show you how to do that. So if we find the LCD first, we know it's 36. 12 goes into 36 how many times? 3 times. 18 goes into 36 how many times? 2 times, right? So that's the lowest common denominator. So if I know 7 is multiplied by 3 and 8 will be multiplied by 2, now I have 21 over 36 compared to 16 over 36, and I can clearly see the 21 is bigger. But when it's just 7 12s and 8 18s, I can't clearly see that, can I? It's like comparing apples to oranges. So we have to remember how to get this lowest common denominator. Any questions on that one? Question? 36? Well, I knew that 12 went into 30, or I knew that 12 and 18 both went into 36.
No, I meant like how you got the 3.
12 goes into 36 3 times. Okay? So I had to multiply 12 by 3 to get to 36, which means I have to multiply with 7. Just like when we were adding and subtracting, remember that? We had to find the common denominator. It's the same thing, but now we're just comparing them. We're not adding and subtracting. Okay, example, actually I want you to try this one. Try that one. Okay, so 5, 6, and 7 9. See if you can get the common denominator and then compare them. Does it matter if you get a bigger denominator? No, as long as you get the same denominator. Okay? So when in doubt, just multiply the two bottom numbers together and you'll still figure it out. Okay? That's right. So try this one on your own, compare, figure out what your lowest common denominator is. If you don't know, 6 times 9, and it'll still work. Just put your thumb up when you think you know. Okay, raise your hand if you think 5 6 is bigger. Raise your hand if you think 7 9 is bigger. Raise your hand if you think they're equal. Raise your hand if you don't know. Okay, let's figure it out. So a common denominator between 6 and 9, first I start by doubling 6. So I get 12. Does 9 go into 12 evenly? No. Triple 6. 6 times 3 is 18. Does 9 go into 18 evenly? Yes. So we know our LCD is 18. So we need to multiply 6 times 3, 5 times 3, 9 times 2, 7 times 2. Follow me so far? Okay, so I have 15 over 18, and I have 14. Oh, it's really close, isn't it? So now I can say, okay, 15 over 18 is bigger, so 5 6 is bigger. So if you put 5 6 is bigger, raise your hand again. Some of you have changed your answers now, but over half of you. Let's try another one, because some people are like, what? How did we do that? Here, I made a really easy one for you. Find your lowest common denominator, and then you decide which one's bigger. Some of you can do this in your head. I know that. Okay? Just put your thumb up when you think you know it. You could just put your thumb here. You don't have to wave it way high in there. Just in front of you like this so I can see who has it. Okay? Some of you already are like, I can do that. I don't need to write down anything to know. Almost everybody's thumb is up. That's amazing. So smart. There's a thumb down. I think the thumb down wants more homework. Okay, raise your hand if you think 1/5 is bigger. Raise your hand if you think 7/50ths is bigger. And the 1/5 wins. So here's how. Common denominator is 50, right? Multiply by 10. Multiply by 10 to get to 50. So now I have 10 over 50, and I have 7 over 50. So clearly the 10 is bigger than the 7. 10. 5 times 10 is 50. 1 times 10 is 10.
Mode.
Uh-oh.
The
These
other
are
one.
positives. Okay. Let's try this one because Lindsay said I'm in negative mode. So find the lowest common denominator first. It's big. I'll tell you that. It's a big number. When in doubt, multiply your denominators together. Put your thumb up when you think you know it. Some of you are wishing I was letting you use calculators right now. But I'm not. Okay, raise your hand if you think the negative 9/16 is bigger. Not very many of you. Raise your hand if you think the negative 7/10 is bigger. Okay, let's find out. The common denominator here is 160, which is kind of big, right? I said that.
I got the 90.
You got 80?
Yeah.
Okay, well that works too, but let's try this one. Because some people just multiplied them. So 10 times negative 9, now we have negative 90 over 160. And 16 times negative 7. 16 times negative 7, I believe, is negative 112. Is that what you guys got? Over 160. And if you're thinking negatives, negative 90 is actually bigger. It's closer to 0. It's closer to 0. There we go. Question.
Negative 7 times 70.
You're going backwards. You need to go bigger. Okay, remember to quiet your voices. We are still recording. Thank you very much. Shh. One last little bit of notes here. Ordering using place value. You will be doing this in your notes and on your quiz and test during this chapter. So it's important that you can order things. Okay? So we're going to order least to greatest. Every question I ever read or put on a test said least to greatest, so you don't have to worry about going greatest to least, but least to greatest. And you're going to get a number set, something like that. Okay, so remember those little brackets mean set, number set. So we have 3.44 pi.
I don't know how to do those brackets.
That's okay, you just do your best. 3.14 and 3.4 repeating, and then I put on the right side, I put some digits of pi for you.
What's that weird number?
It's pi. Okay. 3.14159, and it goes on forever. Nothing repeats. There's no pattern.
So pi is what again when you
3.14159, and it keeps going on and on forever. If you can't draw the pi like that, you can draw a tabletop pi like that. It's fine with me. Straight line, 2 lines down. Yes?
So wait, what's the pi again when it goes on forever?
It's right here. Okay? I wrote it down for you. Alright, so we have to put these in order from least to greatest. Raise your hand if you can tell me the lowest number. The lowest number, yes. 3.14. This one right here. Everyone agree? Yeah, because if you look at pi, it keeps going and that one stops. Okay, then what's the next number? Someone different. Yes, Anthony.
3.4.
After this one?
Yeah.
After this one?
Yeah. No.
After this one? Someone want to help him out?
It's pi.
It's pi. Good.
I didn't think pi was
So it's 3.14 then pi, and then now it's between these two. Who knows which one's next between the last, this 3.44 and 3.4 repeating? Jason?
3.44.
Good. Here's your answer. The repeating is going to be a little bit bigger, right? It's a little bit bigger. So that's least to greatest. We're going to do one more least to greatest. One more. Then we're done. Okay. The last thing in your notes. So we have 23%, 0.21, 1/4, and 1/5. And just to remind you on percentages, because you haven't done them for a while, 23% is the same as 0.23. But the problem here is we have fractions and decimals. Do we know what our fractions are as decimals? If we don't know, we know how to figure it out now. So we just did a whole packet of fractions and decimals. So let's figure this out. So does anyone know 1/4? Point what? 0.25. Does anyone know 1/5? Yeah. 0.2. Is 0.2 lower than 0.21? Yes, so we start there. Okay? So 1/5 is 0.2. I wrote them out for you. Then we go to 1/4, 0.25. Oh, sorry, not 1/4, but that's 0.25. We go to 0.21. 23% is 0.23, and 1/4 is 0.25, so that's last. So you're going to have to use your brain on this homework. You have to switch from fractions to percentages to decimals. That's why I said I only give you like a few of these, because you'll give up if I give you too many, right? So we're going to do some practice in the book. And we have the homework. So we're going to start with the practice 274, 275, 276. And then if you finish that, you can do the homework. This is the homework for this section, but the homework for last section is written on the board still. Okay?